Welcome to the Event Life Podcast, where we dive into the live event scene and have conversations with the people who make them happen. I'm your host, Esteban Quadros, and I'm joined by the ever-insightful co-host, Jessica Barrett, and we're excited to share the conversation with you. Enjoy. Corey Meier, thanks for being here. I said that right? Corey Meier?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just because you got me going on the last one, so I'm making sure.
I got scared of the last one. I would say their name wrong.
Corey, you got like 20 years of experience cooking in kitchens around the Twin Cities. I met you when you worked at Create Catering.
Yep.
I believe through Aria and Create Catering, and then you went to the Four Seasons and opened that.
Right.
And now you're at Hazeltine.
Yes.
Not to be confused with Hazeltine.
Hazeltine, yeah, very different. But everybody thinks that that's where I'm working currently. So
No, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Do we need to take that drink away?
Maybe. I've done events with them at actually Aria.
Oh, really?
Or like filming shoots.
Fundraiser kind of
And they're
stuff.
like, check out this video. And I like went in actually high one day. I was like, this is terrible. This is terrible. And I shouldn't even be going on this route. And like, I had like smoked like a little bit on the way to work or something. I think I was sick trying to like feel better. And they're like, check out this video we shot. And it's like anti-drug, like anti-weed. It's
And
like,
your eyes are all
if you feel
bloodshot.
like you need help, come talk to us. I swear to God. And I'm like, cool video. You know, I'm like, fuck, this is fucked up. Anyways, I wanted to start off by just asking you about like how you got into it, because like as a chef and getting into cooking, because I feel like everybody has like a story about like, oh, like my grandma was like taught me, or some kind of like a family thing that you did, like maybe your dad would grill with you or something like that. So I was just kind of like curious, like how did you get into it? Because your brother is
Definitely wasn't that.
Okay.
Definitely wasn't the dad. For another time. My brother and I, when we were growing up, we actually like single mom. So she was working. So we lived with our grandparents. Our grandpa cooked in the Army is what he always said. I don't know what that means, but
I picture
cooked
the
in the Army.
Seinfeld episode where the Costanza dad or whatever is like almost killing people with the food he's cooking in the Army or whatever.
Yeah,
I just think of peeling potatoes, lots of potatoes.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's how
like
I
a
felt, too.
cartoon
I was
version
like,
of it,
that's
right?
exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of it where it's like they already had a lot of kids, and he was like, I'll show you how to cook, do this, take care of yourselves. Get out of the house, do your thing. And then all growing up, then my mom, she was a stay-at-home mom then at that point, and cooked for us, and we cooked along with, and my brother Blake also was a chef in Minneapolis. So like cooked a lot. I had a girlfriend at one point that was like, you're good at cooking. You should go into cooking. At the time, I was going to school for business. And then I was like, you know what? Yeah, quit business. Walked into AI.
Solid
and
business
signed
plan.
up. Yeah, signed up for school and just like went
Art
to school.
Institute?
Yeah. I was like bartending, or I was working at the local at the time as a server.
Okay.
And then I just was doing that, and now going to school for culinary arts.
Wow.
No idea. I mean, fast forward a few years, and I had already then worked at D'Amico. I was working at Ocean Air when it was still in the Hyatt, like in its prime.
Yeah.
Went on to open up Target Field with my brother, and then that was when him and I made a split, and then I went to Create, worked there for 10 years. And then when COVID hit, left, and then kind of like did a lot of stuff all over the city. Worked in a lot of kitchens. Then came back into Minneapolis, was at High for like 3 months. Four Seasons offered me a position to open up the Four Seasons. I did that, and now I'm out at Hazeltine. So it's like so many different restaurants, so many different, scenes. I had sat down when I left Create, and I had met with Gavin Kaysen, and he was just like, just keep working in kitchens and find what you love to do.
Yeah. So many different like styles of food too, like across the spectrum there, which is really interesting.
Everything.
Yeah.
And it's I've been super fortunate. I've traveled all over the world.
That's so dope.
I've eaten food from all over. I mean, my focus always, anytime I'm traveling, I don't generally go to the restaurants. I eat at the markets. I eat at the food carts. I'll eat wherever there's a line of people. It's like whatever they're having.
What the locals eat.
I want that.
Yeah.
I want to eat that. I want to sit at, in Thailand, I like sat at buckets and had barbecued food And even to this day, it's like some of the best food I've ever had.
Yeah.
It was like a family. The dad was grilling the meat, and the wife and the kids were doing like fruit and smoothies and something. And it was like, this is incredible. And I'm sitting here on a bucket and then eating off of a bucket. It's like
literally like a 5-gallon bucket.
Yeah. And it's like, this is awesome. This is incredible. And you're just on the side of the road. I mean,
that's super cool.
Yeah. Had a moped. I forfeited my passport to get that moped, by the way.
Oh, you had to like turn it in to and get it back when you were done.
Yeah. It was like
Hope so.
very.
Otherwise, how'd you get home? I don't know.
It was like a low key. Grandma, I handed her my passport. She gave me the keys to the moped. I had the moped for the day. I got my passport back when I got
There's
the
some
keys.
Corey Meier now in Thailand.
Yeah, right?
At least one.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, that's a common practice in Thailand. I did that for a dirt bike and everything. So like I get it. I get that part for sure.
So there's an
like,
Alex Johnson who's 4'11" in Thailand.
I feel like
6'5"
sometimes if you're traveling, there's got to be no rules. If there's no rules, you have a lot of opportunity to experience some like really cool stuff, but also
you can I've ended up in some dicey situations where I was like, was that a good idea?
For sure.
But I didn't die, so
I was in Austria for one night and I went to like a literal underground rave party.
Yeah.
For one night and then left in the morning. I never saw Austria during the day, but I was there.
Right.
I was there and I had a great time, but
nice.
It's wild. I feel like we tangented.
What's the best?
I love it. I want to talk about travel for sure.
Yeah, let's keep on that for a minute. Like, what's the best country you've like had food in, or that like what's your what's that thing that sticks in your mind?
Like Thailand for me was a big one.
Cool.
When I was there, I have a video still of this dish called khao soi. It's a red curry and like pork belly dish. And it's in northern Thailand in Chiang Mai. They were like along the spice road, so they have flour, or they had flour, so they had actual noodles. Where everywhere else in Thailand that you go, it's like rice noodles everywhere.
Sure.
Okay.
So they were along that spice road, so they were introduced to different ingredients. One of them was flour. So their dish there is like more of a ramen style noodle.
Okay.
There is pots so big that they had two or three pigs in each pot.
Wow.
Oh,
in the pots.
Pigs. That's
with
amazing.
Turkey fryers
I love
underneath.
that. Okay.
And you walk in and you sit down. There's like fried pork belly hanging in the window. You order your khao soi. They pull it down from the window, cut you off a piece, throw it in the deep fryer, chop it up, bring it to the back, and then they come back out, and it's like this incredible noodle dish. And then you have all the chilies and accoutrements. And it was one of those things where I was like videotaping myself eating this dish.
Yeah.
And I had one of those moments where I was like, this is so good. This is amazing. I was with my friend. I was like, this is amazing. And I came home after that trip, and that first night I made that dish. It was like in my brain. I was like, I have to learn how to make this. Made that.
How did yours match up?
Over the years, it's become pretty good. It takes me like, if I make a big batch, it's like a 1 week process.
Really?
Make the curry from scratch. I cook it all the way down like low and slow. It keeps getting like this black crust fond on top, like this almost dark burnt. And you take that and you fold it back in and you do it low and slow in the oven, and you just do that. That's a whole day process just to make the curry, like the paste.
Wow.
And then once you build the paste, then you start with the stock, and it's like, I don't use whole pigs because, I mean, that would be...
You don't have a bathtub to cook it in.
I don't have that. Yeah, I don't have, exactly. So I usually will get in a bunch of the different parts in the face and do it all, and then I'll make it, and I'll make the stock, and then it's all just reducing and clarifying until you get to there.
What does that mean, clarifying?
So with a lot of stocks, you end up with all of the different fats and little meat and things like that, right? All this sediment and vegetables, and they all break down. So you keep straining it and cooking it down, and then add to it and fortify it and keep cooking it down. So you end up with this stock that tastes like it's liquid pork.
Yeah. It's distilling it into its most basic, truest nature, basically.
Exactly. And it's cold, it's a hard gel. It's like a hard gelatin.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
And then warm, it's like this velvety broth.
That's amazing.
And
did you ever feel sketched out, like you were going to get sick from anything on the street?
I definitely did get sick from things on the street. I'm
not from that dish though.
No, not from that dish.
Okay.
I'm when I travel, I'm I'm open to anything.
Yeah.
I'm here we go. Whatever. You're eating that? Cool. I mean, the first day that I was there, like the biggest no-no is like rice, obviously, is a big thing. And they serve rice in like bags that you can see the condensation on the bag, and it's like a goldfish bag of rice.
Like you bought it at the state fair or something.
The first morning I was there, it was like cockroaches, dogs running everywhere. I see a truck driving with like a mountain of chickens on it, and I was like, wow, sucks to be the restaurant that gets the chicken at the bottom. You know, it's like, ugh. And then that day I had the rice, I had a chicken liver curry, and I had fried pig's ears, I want to say. And that was like the first meal that I had when I was there.
You went all in. I love that.
Got it.
You have to.
I mean,
yeah, why not?
And everybody's like, don't drink the water. I drank the water, but I also ate all the Thai chilies there. It's
Everywhere
just like,
I've ever gone, I've always drank the water because basically I'm an idiot and I just forget that that's a rule. I was like somewhere, I don't remember where I was, and we were at some bar and everyone's like, why are you getting ice in your drink? And I was like, why not?
yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I guess that's water, duh. Like I don't even think about it, but I've never gotten sick. Like never.
I rarely, I mean, then you also have moments like that. You're in a third world country like that, and you're walking by all of these restaurants that you see all these people eating at, and then you go a few steps further and you look into the alley, and like in Thailand, it would be like 7 kids with 2 buckets of water washing all the dishes. And it's like, okay, well, those get just washed and sent right back into the restaurant.
Yeah.
So everybody that is traveling and on vacation and eating in those restaurants, those are the dishes that you're.
So they think they're getting like these like fine dining kind of a thing where all their stuff's going through like a dish.
Pull
pit.
back the curtain for a second and see what's actually happening.
Holy cow, that's crazy.
Behold the child labor and
Right.
not ideal sterilization. Right.
Alex, I saw your head bobbing over there.
I know when
he was
when
recently in
mentioned-
Thailand. Alex was like, yeah.
You said Chiang Mai, and I was like, I was there.
Yeah.
That was insane.
So that noodle place was just as you get into the old town.
Oh, okay.
So like there's the new town surrounding, and then you get to the old town portion in the middle.
Yeah.
It was like right in old town, and it was just everybody was like, you have to go there to get this dish. And I was like, all right.
And it was worth it.
It was worth it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Is there like a runner-up for you?
I've spent a lot of time in Italy. I went to Ecuador. I was just in Iceland last year. I rented a camper van and went all the way around all of Ring Road. So it's like one road that goes all the way around Iceland.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just go and you like camp the whole way. And we ate a lot of amazing food there. You can go to Michelin star restaurants there and spend like $100. Yeah. And
That's amazing, especially considering that it's an island and you just naturally like assume that the cost of goods are so much higher on islands a lot of times.
Everything would have to be imported, essentially.
Well, there is a lot of that, but a lot of cooking in Iceland as well as like living off of the land.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which is, when we were there also, we saw sheep everywhere.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about that actually is that all of the sheep get to roam free on the whole island for the whole year. And then there's like a week that the whole like country stops and you gather sheep and you send them back to where they need to be.
They like organize, they're like figuring out which one's which.
They're all tagged or branded and then you send them back.
Your sheep, yeah.
Yeah, but otherwise they just live on the whole island free range.
It's insane.
But it's like
that's so
tons of cod, kelp.
Yeah.
They're making bread. Everything that we had at one of these restaurants that we went to was like everything was made from the island, on the island. It was amazing. It was really cool.
How many countries have you been to?
I don't know.
Okay.
A lot.
Sorry.
I think in like my one Europe trip, I did like 9.
Okay.
And that was when I was younger. I just backpacked, hoofed it.
Yeah.
Flew for $100 to a different country and
Ryanair,
did a whole
baby.
thing. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But I haven't spent as much time as I'd like to in like Southeast Asia.
Sure.
And like that portion of the world. Yeah. Where I'd love to go to like Cambodia and Vietnam, Singapore, India. I just haven't. It's a trip you have to plan.
Yeah, I
Japan
feel like
too, for sure.
I feel like India is a place where I really want to go, but I feel like I need like a month off to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
right.
how you can't. It's like trying to be like I saw China. You know, it's like no, you'd need like 6 months. Like there's no way.
Right.
Yeah. And I like to kind of stay put in a place for a while when I'm traveling and like really like try to be local as much as I can.
Immerse yourself as much as you can.
Yeah, just be like immersed and like stay put. I've made a mistake sometimes of like being a little too aggressive with my travel plans, and I always kind of regret it. Like I should have just stayed in this one town and got to know people and like hung out and ate food and just chilled. And
yeah, if you schedule too much, it's like all this touristy stuff, and then you're like you don't have time to enjoy any of it.
I'm not a huge touristy person in general. I mean, I like you go to these places to see those things, like, but I try not to over program it because it's like those things will always be there. I can always come back. Like if I really need to see it someday. The first time Cassine and I, with another friend of ours, we went to Paris and we stayed like 4 blocks away from the Notre Dame. We never went. I did almost get my passport stolen outside of it though. But the last time I'll ever make that mistake. But then we were like, it's fine. We'll come back and go again some other time. And then I like had the huge fire and we're like, maybe not, I guess. So,
yeah, right.
You never know. But I think like if you try to schedule too much of that kind of stuff, you just end up like running the whole time. I went to New Zealand by myself and I did like a road trip around all of South Island, which was like over 1,000 miles of driving, which was great and super cool, except I got sick halfway through it. So I was like still having to drive like, on this cold medicine on the roads in New Zealand. And I was like just falling into my Airbnbs at the end of the night. And I was like, why did I do this to myself?
Oh, man.
But I think you like bring up a good point. And this has been a big thing for me is rent a car, drive, see the countryside, see the cities, get into the neighborhoods, get out of the city. Like, maybe have one trip or one day where you spend seeing tourist things.
Right.
Get a car, get out of Dodge, and get into like the nitty gritty of cool restaurants that aren't on the map that everybody's going to, and they like are supporting these
like the hidden
towns.
gems. Yeah.
And it's you get into situations where it's like, wow, I'm super welcomed. I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But this is awesome. And I'm really enjoying myself. And I mean the nice thing for me is I go and then I'm like, oh, I'm a chef. So you start to have these conversations about the food, or at least you can identify things and they want to like show. Yeah. Which is
people do want to show you what's cool. I mean,
so exciting.
When people come here to, to hear, like, I want them to see what's cool here. Right. And people are very open to that in other countries too. I feel like I've used different means, like sometimes like, and whatever, I don't know. It's not inappropriate. I've used like dating apps to like get tips on like where to go. Like when I was single, if I was traveling, like get on Tinder, talk to some locals, be like, and I'll be like, I'm actually not interested in dating, but like, please tell me where the best place to go have dinner is.
I mean, I would say resourcul.
I mean, it worked really well. Like it worked really well. So, and sometimes they would buy the dinner. So, you know, you never know.
I mean, that's amazing.
Pro tip.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's funny. I want to reverse a little bit, and like, so you got interested in cooking kind of through your family.
Yep.
And then at what point were you like, or you said a little bit about when you're like, I'm going to go to school for this, your girlfriend at the time, or somebody was kind of pushing you to.
Yeah, just said I was good at it. I was not good at it. Okay. Let's just, I mean, I was.
But you like doing it.
I like doing it, but I think the core thing, and probably run into this with most people in our industries, is I like taking care of people. I like giving you an opportunity to experience something where you can have an aha moment where you go, wow, this is awesome. I feel so taken care of, or this is the best of this dish that I've ever had, or giving you an opportunity to experience a moment either with somebody or not, but giving you that opportunity. And that's what I like. I always love taking care of people. I was going to go into pediatrics, and then I didn't get into the schools I wanted to go to, and that put me on the trajectory of travel. And then I just started traveling, and I'd come back home, work 4 jobs, save up all my money, buy a ticket, fly somewhere and leave. Come back.
Awesome.
Sounds awesome. And then you go at 21, okay, I don't have a degree, and I'm just working in restaurants.
Now what? Right.
But you're cultured.
Now what? Yeah,
you're
for sure.
Cultured, and that's a huge thing. I think a lot of people miss that, me included.
And I think the nice thing too is I was at a young age.
Yeah.
I was able to be shown a lot of hospitality from different cultures.
In different ways. And like, but also it's like being shown it in different ways, but it's always the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was at one point going to go, maybe I've told this story on here before, but before I got my job at Aria, I had been applying for grad school in Italy with Slow Food International, their University of Gastronomic Sciences, because they do a master's program in food culture and communication. And it's because like I love the story that food tells and that people can tell through food and the ways that you can use it to celebrate, to mourn, to gather. Like it's just such an extension of like the events experience and like bringing people together and building community and all those kind of things. And the ways in which it can be so different, but also always the same. It's like, you know, similar foods. There's a through lines through a lot of it. So I love that.
Definitely.
Yeah, kitchen's like my favorite spot. Like even at an event, like I want to see where it's coming out of.
Yeah.
I want to see the hors d'oeuvres being built and stuff. It's part of that's like a problem I have now.
Yeah.
Since I've been in events, like I can't stay away from that stuff or judge it or whatever. But that's another story. But.
Right.
And I think sometimes for me, like on the chef side of that gets lost. That gets lost because you're so focused on everything being perfect, or you're so focused on, I think about a certain dish looking a certain way, but then you're plating it and I didn't voice to you or show you exactly. And now I'm watching all of these dishes go out at an event and I'm just like so disappointed, so defeated. Where if I were to take one or two steps back and be like, all of this stuff is new to a lot of these people, or people are still having an experience that I haven't had, but they're having it for themselves just based on this dish. Where so often people will be like, this is the best of this dish that I've ever had. And I travel a lot and I just go, okay, like,
yeah, sure.
Cool. Really good for you.
Yeah.
But I can't negate the fact that they had an incredible experience, where sometimes I just go, yeah, sure. Where I should be so excited and celebrate for them that they loved something that I created and gave to them.
Yeah.
Well, I feel too like if it's part of the whole experience, right? It's not just like the food itself. It's probably like the event that they're at or the thing they're doing or the people they're with. And if you're someone who has like reveled and relished in like sitting on a bucket and eating off of a bucket in Thailand, like going to a fancy event and getting something like on a plate isn't necessarily going to resonate the exact same way with you. And like, it doesn't feel like I think especially for those of us who see that like so often, it doesn't resonate in the same way. Whereas if you're someone who doesn't go to a black tie event ever, and then you go to the first one and you have this like amazing hors d'oeuvre where we've had it like 50 times over the trash can in the kitchen or something. It's like, yeah, okay, it's cool. Yeah, that can't possibly be the best, whatever it is that you've ever had. But like, in the experience of all of it to them, I can imagine how that could feel.
And so it's like really hard for me sometimes. Like I even had to start going to therapy for a certain period of time because I was so disappointed again and again in the way that I felt like things were going to go. And I was like, I need to find a way to take two steps back to understand what my cooks are going through. It's new to them. It's new to the servers. It's new to everybody. For me, it's something that I've done 100 times, 1,000,000 times. I don't even think about it when I'm doing it. And then to take that away from somebody else and to be frustrated to a point where I would think about it all the rest of the evening. And it could have been the way a sauce looked on an appetizer, some stupid appetizer going out that is like
one singular one that went
doesn't
out.
matter.
Yeah.
It's like, God, it could have been so much better, but it wasn't.
I can relate to that too with like music and playing, expecting a song to go a certain way and somebody didn't execute it right, or somebody didn't practice enough, or they just didn't give a shit. And I would beat myself up over a lot of that too for a long time. So I can definitely see that.
And I feel like so much of it is like, it's an art form, right? So
and that's what I was getting at.
I want more than anything for all of the cooks that I have or whatever. It's like, just give a shit.
Yeah.
You don't have to meet my expectations, but elevate your expectations, or elevate. I've had this thing for a while that I was saying to all my cooks for the restaurant. I said, put up every dish like it's the top 5 dish you've ever plated every time. And if you can get into that mindset, Now you start caring about the people. Now you start caring about whoever it's going to. It's not just a burger on a plate, send it out, whatever. It's like, oh, it's going out, and it's going out, in this way because I care about the experience that this person's having. It's not just about just like pumping out a ton of food and be like, all right, I'm tired, let's clean up and go home.
Yeah. Where do you think that came from? Like, is that just like a personality trait that you think you have? Like
I don't know.
Kind of a perfectionist, or did you develop that in school, or?
So my brother has it also.
Okay.
And we're also like very like organized and like
little type A kind
little
of
type A
OCD a little.
We like things to look and act in a very specific way. Like I feel like it has to be something childhood related. If we both
Tell
have
us
it,
about your trauma.
If we both have it,
Speaking of therapy.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do you reconcile that now? Like, how do you reconcile like that level of disappointment? And
it's daily.
Yeah.
It's daily.
Okay.
It's a daily reminder that, like, one, it doesn't matter, but it matters. Mm-hmm. And every time that something doesn't go its way, it's an opportunity for you to teach. It's an opportunity for you to educate. It's an opportunity for you to figure out how to get them to a next level, or sometimes maybe it doesn't need to be the way that I think it should be. Maybe somebody can put it out in a way that is good the way it is, and it looks differently than what I think it should look like. And that might be a opportunity to now build a relationship with that individual, where now I'm saying, hey, you know what? I know I'm the chef, but I like the way that this looked. This did work out.
Yeah.
It wasn't exactly what I was thinking. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Do it. Mm-hmm. Be creative. Care about what you're doing. And if that's what's going to get them to give a shit, then that's one way to get there. But more often than not, I'm just like, what are we doing?
But if you have too much blinders on of like what you think something has to be, you lose the opportunity to see what it could be.
For sure.
And that's like, I think a really hard thing when you're a really high performing person is like, this is how I envisioned it. You miss those opportunities sometimes, or you miss the opportunity to help somebody grow in their understanding of those things, or like, their interpretation of things. And like, that is hard. I have struggled with that myself too. So.
I'm struggling with that right now. I'd say even working for Crave, that does things a little bit differently than I did them when I was with D'Amico. Sometimes I'm like, why the hell are we doing it like this?
Yeah.
I've kind of come full circle at this point, and this is like 3.5 months into it or whatever. And I had to allow myself that, like, hey, it's okay to do it differently.
Yeah.
And it's not maybe always, what I wanted it to be, but it's fine. It's still making progress. It's successful, and it's.
And I think sometimes too, like people have told me this even up until recently. Like, you have to sometimes give yourself grace.
Oh yes, 100%.
I mean, you can't be on and be incredible and be pumping out the best event or the best food always.
Yeah.
There are definitely days when I come in the kitchen though and I go, I am nailing every dish. You guys just like get out of my way and I will just cook today. And because I'm
in the zone, baby.
I am crushing it today.
That's awesome.
But the nice thing too, and we talked about this earlier, we're trying to do something different than I think any kitchen has done. We're now running a team of executive chefs, no sous chefs. We have some lead lines. But it's 3 of us. It's Lucas, a friend of mine, and then my brother Blake, and then myself. And we're running it as an executive chef, like an executive team, culinary team. And so what it gives us is it's 3 people, and it has to, I think, be 3 very specific types of people.
Right.
We're all there to just do the job and do the best job that we can do. So ego's got to be put aside. Mm-hmm. We all need to show up for one another. We all keep each other in check. If there are days that you need to take off, I will just go, no, you're not coming in tomorrow. I'm holding you accountable for having work-life balance because that's what we're doing here. And so we've created a system now where somebody can take a vacation and we don't even think about it because the 2 other people that are working, they can do all the scheduling, all the ordering, run all the events, do all the managing, help facilitate at every facet of our food service. And this person now can go on vacation, not think about work, enjoy themselves, get away from everything. And our goal right now is work-life balance. How do we show up and be better when we're there? How do we show up and be better for our people when we're not there? How do you do that? You got to have time off. You got to not work 12 hours, 13 hours, 14-hour days. You got to work 8-hour days.
Yeah, work-life balance is an amazing topic, especially in the kitchen chef world. Because I even like working in kitchens myself, crazy hours. Get there, it's 5, 6 in the morning, work an event till like 10 p.m., putting out late night snack.
And grueling work, like on your feet. You're exhausted. You're just dead in the water by the end of it.
Days of it. Yeah. But I mean, for a long time though, in the industry, pre-COVID,
right?
If you weren't doing that, you weren't a chef.
Well, you're a slacker. You're just you're not. You're it was an ethos. It was a lifestyle.
Yeah, I used to interview young cooks, and this, looking back on it now, I feel so awful. But I used to interview young cooks, and I'd say, okay, yeah, you can cook, but the lifestyle that we live is the rock star lifestyle. My expectation is you work 15 hours, 16 hours, stay here and help us clean up and do dishes and whatever until 1 o'clock in the morning.
Until it's done.
We can have drinks while we're doing it or whatever.
Right, which is also not always a great part of it.
No. Yeah. And then you go home, and my expectation is you're walking through the doors tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. And if you don't feel like you can do that and you don't feel like you can put in 80 hours, then this is not the world that you're going to succeed in. Mm-hmm. Like turning away people just based on your level of commitment needs to be here, and your level of meeting expectation needs to be here. And if you can't do that, here's an application to McDonald's. Like, I mean, basically that was the deal. It was like,
no, it's real.
I mean,
it's real.
We even talk about that now in our kitchens, like as a joke, but we say, okay, you know what? I'm just going to go gather a bunch of applications to other places like Applebee's, Culver's, Taco Bell, and hang them up on the wall.
Yeah.
And just say, hey, you don't want to do this job and you don't want to perform? I got a stack of applications on my door. You can just take one on your way out and get yourself a new something. And we're not even expecting 80-hour weeks. I'm expecting 38 to 40-hour weeks with 2 days off. And if you don't want to perform at that level, it's like, see ya.
Well, yeah, if you don't want to perform at that level.
You're not showing up for me, and I'm showing up for you every day.
Right.
See ya.
Right.
I mean, it's we have HR, so I can't do that, but I can talk about it.
Yeah. Do you feel like that shift happened for you during COVID? Is that where it changed it for you, or like after that?
I think it was after. I mean, honestly, I think it was probably within like the last 3 or 4 years.
What do you think kind of spurred that in for you?
I was hopping around to a lot of different restaurants. I was putting in a lot of time with a lot of different people. And also, I wasn't even at some of the restaurants, I was just prepping. And I was just with the staff.
Sure.
And I was just seeing how the staff, how staff is being treated. And one of my big things always growing up in the restaurant world was I wasn't looking at my chefs going, I'm going to take this away from them and when I go on. I was looking at it, it's like, I didn't like how you did that. I'm never going to treat somebody like that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I wasn't idolizing anybody. I was just saying, when I move on, because I knew I'd be there for a year or whatever, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be supportive in this way.
That's a huge part of learning the things
you don't want to do.
Yeah, the things you don't want to do. That's actually extremely crucial.
But also then at some point, I think I was like that chef that also people were like, I'm not going to do that. Like that.
They were like, I'm not going to work 80 hours a week, you psycho.
I mean, early catering and at Create, I mean, that the demand was high and the standards were high and the expectation was high. Yeah. And at the time when I was there, we were leading the charge as far as like what that pinnacle high end needs to look like.
Yeah.
And if you weren't meeting that expectation, yeah, there was disappointment.
I have to say too, you guys did kill it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
And that's how
definitely
I met you through all that. And like everything that was like spoken about, like what you guys were doing was like, they're killing it. They're doing awesome.
High accolades for sure.
High accolades for sure.
And I think that was like the first opportunity that I got to see a group of people like coming together to try to work for one goal.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of us were on salary and we were all there and we were like grinding it out together. And that I think helped to springboard even this idea of like running with 3 executive chefs. Granted, at that time, we didn't have work-life balance at all. Like I was there a million hours and I was doing a lot of stuff. Which that at the time was important to me.
Yeah.
At the time, I felt like if I did this, I was going to be something.
Rockstar.
Yeah. It does
Exactly.
feel like rockstar shit when you're doing it.
Yeah.
That I feel that was like around the same time when I was at Aria and I was working 70, 80, 90 hours a week on the regular. People are like, that's not possible. I was like, it is if you sleep there. Like it is if you like don't have a personal life.
Right.
Yeah. If all you do is work, yep, it certainly is possible.
Well, and the gross thing is we all would joke about it.
Well, yeah, and,
Like
and
it
you
was-
spend all this time together, and you're just like, it's a badge of honor.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, like, it's I don't like this. I don't like to do this anymore. But it's glorifying the hustle, right? It's
sure.
glorifying the grind.
For sure.
But at the time, it was like being part of an elite club in some ways, and it's like if you're not doing that, what are you even doing with your life? You know, like why are you here if you're not willing to give everything to it, blood, sweat, and tears? It's just it's fucked up. But
It is.
It was exactly how I felt about it. I wasn't even trying to necessarily make other people feel that way, but it was the way that I felt that I was like showing my worth. I think there's a little bit of trauma there too, of just like little childhood, like gotta prove my worth, gotta make people love me. Let's see how hard I can work for it. Like dance for that. But if it was fun to be part of at the same time. Like it was a good time.
It was.
It's
a good
weird.
time.
It's weird
not.
though how there's also comfort in that, like working those long crazy hours. There's something that you're kind of owning, and you're doing this thing, and I don't know. I feel like, yeah, it's just like a weird comfort in there, and that's why you like keep going back every single day and doing the same thing. And like when you don't do it, you feel fucked up.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even now, I think to myself, oh,
I should be working.
Could I right now do something different than being a chef? And then I go, and just like not do that, leave that behind, and whatever, have a different work-life balance or do whatever. Nah, I mean, I would like to, but I don't think I would enjoy it.
This episode is sponsored by IMAV, an innovative and leading audiovisual company based in the Twin Cities. If you're looking to elevate your next event, all you have to do is reach out to the team at IMAV. They'll put together a package that not only fits your budget, but takes your event to the next level. IMAV strives to not only be a resource, but an asset to the success of your event. Whether you need video, audio, or lighting, the professionals at IMAV can execute and run your meeting or event flawlessly. Their team is a dream to work with and always deliver a final product that leaves guests blown away. Find them online at imav.pro. Use promo code EVENTLIFE when you contact them to receive 30% off all equipment rentals for your first event. Again, go to imav.pro to lock in the best audiovisual vendor for your next event.
Christy Altendorf from D'Amico has said this a few times, and I feel like I've stolen this from her, but she kind of jokes about sometimes being like, I just want to quit my job and become like a receptionist at a dentist's office, you know? And I'm like,
Kelly says a lot of that kind of stuff too. Yeah.
Like, even if I did that, probably in like 3 weeks, I'd be like, should we start a union?
Yeah.
Like,
should we do something? What should we do?
Yeah, like, how can we streamline these operations? Like, let's go.
100%.
But there is a certain level of like, yeah, would it be nice to just be able to walk away from work and like not think about your work afterwards? I don't know. It'd be probably pretty nice.
I think so. And I mean, another piece of that for me is like your cooks. It's like you worry about their well-being. Like I'm invested in all of their lives and I mean, I'm asking them to do all this work and these hours.
You're helping them grow too. And
For sure.
That's something we talked about last night a little bit when I was getting you on.
Yeah.
You were saying something about, and this is a topic we've talked about, is like growing them so that they eventually leave the nest and go on to do big and not necessarily better, but you want to help them grow into the next thing that they're going to do.
Right. Yeah, I would never want you to leave and go and be a line cook somewhere unless that's what your heart desire. I want you to, one of my cooks one day came in and asked if he could have a recipe. And I was like, you should steal all my fucking recipes. Are you kidding me? Like, why are you don't asking? Even ask. Just take all of them and tell them that you came up with. I was like, I don't care. I don't own them. I'm just making them up.
How do you think I learned how to do that curry in Thailand? I just stole that shit.
At work, a little side tangent. At work, it's a funny thing that goes around because on my station, so I do most of our recipe writing at work, and everything is to the gram. So on my station, I have my cutting board, my knives, all of my things, and then I have a scale, and I have a dry erase marker, and I write on all of the surfaces, counters, hoods, tile walls.
Well, beautiful mind shit
and
over
so
here.
I'll as I'm working, I'll just build a recipe, and I'm just building a recipe based on how I normally cook that dish. So I'll just I'll put out 6 onions. I'll start cutting them up, and then maybe it's only 4.5 onions. I'll put 4.5 onions on the scale, and then just be like, diced onion, this. I don't need the 6 onions. I only needed 4.5. Just based on visual and how I'm cooking. I will take a regular spoon, and I'll not even using measuring spoons. I'm just pulling spices out and measuring it into a bowl and saying, okay, this is actually 10 grams. And I just build this thing, and then I leave it on the counter, and then everybody takes a photo of it. We still build out recipe books, but it'll sit there for days. And so the coined term now is prison writing, and it's all over. You could be on a station next to a RoboCoupe, and it won't say what the thing is, but it'll have all the ingredients.
I was going to say, does it have the name on it, or do you just let's see what comes out at the end of this?
So it's you can ballpark probably what it is, but a lot of the time it's just I have this writing all over the walls.
That's really cool.
But then all of these cooks now take those recipes. But our thing is you should leave and be better, be great, be amazing. Take your next job and use me as a reference. You should. There was a joke that one of our cooks said to my brother one day, because I was really ragging on this guy, and I'm on him all the time. We call him All Day Danny. Everybody has nicknames at work. All Day Danny, he works all day, and so he's there. And he had said something along the lines of oh, I'm going to put that I worked for Chef Corey on my resume because he's so hard on me, and everybody will know then that he was hard on me. And my brother just looked at him and goes, you do that and you're probably getting the job, because he knows most of the people in the city.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's for real though.
Oh, you work for him? Yeah,
100%.
I'll give him a shout.
And he won't let you slide. So.
But he's got a good heart, and he works super hard, and so it's All Day Danny is fitting for him.
I like those names. Yeah.
Yeah.
Going back to going to school for it, what is that experience like? Because I actually back in the day, I was I'm gonna be a guitar player. I'm gonna fucking be a chef. I had no chef skills. No one ever taught me anything. I didn't even know what anything was. It was funny, and but I just enjoyed eating, and I was I'm gonna be a chef.
That's half the battle,
right?
When I was going to school, I was also working at D'Amico, and I was working shortly after that.
What years was that?
I don't know. Maybe 15 years ago.
I think that might have been just
I was
right
at the
before
Metropolitan.
my time. Okay.
You were there too.
I was there for a hot minute too.
So maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's funny that I didn't know, and we even earlier when we were talking before.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that you worked for D'Amico until we were talking.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, so that's really cool.
Bill was there and Rick was there.
Yeah, well, Bill was there forever.
Yeah,
so
he was. I worked with him not too long ago. Actually, it's funny. But when I was going to school, I was already learning from all of these chefs. I just felt like I needed to have the degree.
Yeah. So you were already cooking for D'Amico, and then you went to school while you were there. Okay.
Yep. And then I got a second job when I was there, and then I was also school was pretty easy for me at the time, so I was also then tutoring English and Spanish. And then during that time, nobody ever showed up because they're all chefs. Nobody's going to show up for that. I wrote a school program while I was in that class, because what I had pitched to the school was that I actually wanted to take every facet of AI, which was like culinary arts, interior design, graphic design, management, like hotel and business restaurant management. I think there was something else. But what I wanted to do at the time was to create an archive of all of the restaurants in Minneapolis, and through the lens of all of those different fields, and start to look at the restaurants and then how the times are changing, and revisit those restaurants every single year and talk about what the interior design looked like, talk about the menu, talk about this, and create this like catalog, which would have been amazing now.
Yeah, like a museum.
Basically to look back on. And it got shot down. It was too many resources. But really what I wanted to do was go out to eat and drink for free. Yeah. So that was like why I wanted to do it.
Okay.
But then I ended up folding that into a school program while I was there called Food for Thought. And I was bringing in chefs from all over and like giving students an opportunity to not be in a classroom setting and be scrutinized, but to say, hey, be in this room with a bunch of people that want to learn, that aren't going to belittle you or whatever, and just cook and learn from an expert and get your hands on $5,000 of seafood that nobody cares if you mess it up or not. Fuck it up. Like, learn how to be better.
Yeah.
And so I had that for a year, and then once I graduated, nobody did anything with it. But for the year that I was there, we were like flying in stuff and bringing in chefs and cooking, and
that's so cool.
It was a great tool.
Yeah.
I mean, so going back to even stuff that we talked to at the beginning, I have this big heart to educate, to give people opportunities to experience moments that they couldn't have. And if it even just takes a little bit more effort on my side, that's why I think fitting in on the cooking world, I feel okay. Because, I'll take the extra 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 hours to make sure that you have the best event or you have the best food or whatever it needs to look like. I'll sacrifice that. Because it gives me a little bit of joy at the end of the day to know.
Satisfaction.
Yeah, that it's like that I took care of somebody, or that I gave them a big hug in the form of food or what, a good event. They can trust me. They can go into it and know that they don't have to worry about I know what the end goal is, and you can trust me with this awesome team to get to that end goal and just enjoy yourself. Would I love to be on that side of it and enjoy a thing? I don't think I could. Oh,
no. I'm terrible on that side of things.
Yeah.
Oh, you're doing that? Really? Weird.
Yeah, it's hard. And so I know, like, we were chatting a little bit, too, beforehand, sustainability. And it's such a big thing nowadays. And you kind of blew my mind with some of the ways in which that you can save money for a company, but also, just like not having so much food waste and stuff like that. I don't know, just talk a little bit about how did you, I know it's kind of a movement right now, but like I feel like you were maybe a little ahead of the curve on a lot of that.
Yeah. So there was a good friend of mine who's now a chef out in LA. We were working in Ocean Air together. We went to AI together. And something that he told me that like has resonated with me from the day that he told me till now, and I say it to my cooks all the time now, is our livelihood is cooking incredible dishes with incredible ingredients. Some farmer's livelihood is growing the scallions. Like, that's what he does. He's amazing at it. He does a great job at it, he or she, and then they want to produce an amazing product, but what they're doing is they're supporting their family and their lifestyle with this farm. We're taking that ingredient, and if you're taking that thing and you're only using a fraction of it to produce something that you think is excellent, you're falling short at the duties of who we are as chefs. You're falling short of giving that person's livelihood and opportunity for you to achieve your end goal. And so I've taken that always and said, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take everything. I'm going to use everything. This is going to turn into this. Don't throw anything away. We're like making, like even now, we take like the ends of things and blend it up into oil, and we use that as a marinade base for something. It's not just about making stocks anymore, like everybody's outlet for a lot of stuff was stock.
Yeah.
No. Now I'm like, we put 2 soups on the menu that are rotating soups every single week. Everything that we feel like is phased out from a menu or is from a banquet thing or something, make it into incredible soup. Make it into this. Move it into this. I mean,
that's awesome.
We try to cross-utilize everything. So, like,
is that a fun challenge too? Kind of like, what can I do with this?
It is, but also at this point, it starts to feel like it's just that's
natural.
how I think.
Second nature, kind of.
How I'm thinking is like, okay, so we have out at Hazeltine, we have a banquet section. We have this, we call it the Bev Hut. It's like a food outlet out in the middle of the course, and then we have the dining portion. Mm-hmm. What happened before we came on was that the menus didn't sync. So now what we did is we went to banquets, which should be your moneymaker, and we said, these are 5 proteins that we're going to always have on hand and use for banquets, whatever those are. Now we're going to take those 5 proteins and we're going to introduce those 5 proteins into the restaurant side. So I always have these proteins, and now I'm using them already over here in the restaurant portion. And if we have an event where we cook 20 extra chicken breasts, well, I can now take those, or we prep them out and get them marinated. Well, the marinade over here is the exact same marinade now that's over here. So we have 20 chicken breasts that are left over. Take it from here, move it over to here, now sell those again. So over here, they've already been factored into your costs now for your event. Mm-hmm. Somebody's paid for that. So now you just move that over into here, and that waste cost that you've accounted for now turns into dollars over here. And you're not losing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's an incredible ROI, but it does require thoughtfulness and a lot of, like, I'm sure it's second nature at this point, but in the beginning, it takes thoughtfulness. It takes some, like, education on those sort of things, and
you got to train that staff to start thinking like that. I mean, we even run into that now, where a lot of the time I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Why are you throwing that away? Right.
Don't do that. Like, that's for something.
It's interesting too when you think about, like, as someone who values excellence and, like, is trying to escalate, like, the excellence of those things, and then what you were saying earlier about, like, that's that farmer's livelihood. Like, it's such a beautiful way to show respect to the work that people do.
100%.
To, like, get those, and especially when you're someone who's buying really quality ingredients, buying from farmers, buying local. It's like every piece of something that you throw away is time that someone else gave to it. Yeah. And, like, time away from their family, time away from, like, just having work-life balance, things like that. So it's like, if you think about those pieces of vegetables that get thrown away or whatever as, like, someone else's time and, like, love and attention, like
just water and nutrients even.
Like resources.
100%. Yeah.
So when he told me that me as a young man, I was like, wow, that resonates with me. I love that idea of think big picture, think outside of the box, think about how important everything around us is to the job that we do. And if I didn't have those farmers putting out quality ingredients or trying to get away from using antibiotics and hormones and doing all these things, then you're left with one product. You're not left with all of these different potentially, incredible products from different farms to start to showcase. And then the other piece for me is, like, I'm able to now educate our guests and say, hey, this is from this farm and this person is doing this because of these things and they care about it and it's this. I had a farmer when I was at Create who raised Icelandic lamb and fed them. His goal was to feed them on Icelandic clover. So he would grow Icelandic clover because that's what they would eat in their environment.
Yeah.
And that was his passion, was raising these awesome, incredible lamb and doing it in a very specific, thoughtful way.
It reminds me of wine, like sommelier, like the region, and it came from this, and they had a drought or whatever. It's like you're thinking about all those other elements, like where the food's coming from, what the animal's eating, all that kind of stuff. It's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
How long do you think you've been practicing sustainability?
10 years.
10 years, which is funny. How long do you think it's been since like that has been like a booming thing? Like the last 4 years, 5 years?
I feel like I was introduced to it a little earlier than that, but I don't know that it was as much of a trend. I used to work at the campus club at the U of M. Beth Jones was the executive chef there, and she used to work at Lucia's.
Yep.
And so like she continued a lot of that. I learned from her. I learned how to cook from her, like literally standing in the kitchen. And she taught me how to take like a whole chicken and have that be an entire week's worth of meals by just different components and reusing it and doing things like that. I mean, and that was back in like 2010, 2012, something like that.
Lucius was like on the forefront.
On the
of
forefront.
Yeah. I think that like
Yeah.
uptown area
Yeah.
was definitely had the pulse of sustainable, local. I mean, you could go there and hit a lot of restaurants that was their thing.
Right.
I mean, Barbette was in that world.
Yeah. But it definitely, I don't think, was becoming more like mainstream and more, it was less of a like, more of a feature, not a bug,
Yeah.
Like it's something that people expect as opposed to something that they have to seek out. Probably like 10 years ago. That feels fair. Yeah.
I mean,
Here in Minnesota at least.
My question is like, and not necessarily on the food side, but like, does a sustainable event actually exist?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's what I wonder
I
too.
still throw away, I don't know,
It's just
100 pounds per 150 people. Probably. I mean, seems
That's
like
really
a lot,
interesting that
but
you know
it's
that number though.
It just, I'm just like thinking about
Yeah.
all of the garbages, and then I think about how much each garbage should have roughly in it. So it's like
garbage math.
I do feel like you're doing a little beautiful mind thing, like you're scribbling on a whiteboard right now in your head.
basically,
Yeah.
I was just thinking about like weight of each one. Like
Yeah.
you don't want to fill up each one. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But it's
no,
like,
but I love it. But also like that being able to actually think about that and quantify that is really interesting because I'm sure there's a lot of people who are like, I don't know, there's like a fuck ton of waste at the end. Like who knows?
Well, and you got like the bamboo plates, but like, how did they make that damn plate? Was was the method in which they made the disposable? Not this, but like
Yeah.
the
bad example.
Yeah.
Well, I have like
Yeah.
this is not one either. This is they make like the plant-based
Yeah.
ones though, right?
Yeah.
That are supposed to be decompostable. Compostable. Sorry.
Decompose or compostable.
Whatever.
I don't know,
Compostable.
whatever.
Yeah. But
Well, the problem.
how do they make this? Is
Yeah, I don't know.
is the way that they make them even a sustainable practice? Like that's what I question.
Well, and
so
if you get into that too deep, then it's like, how do they make it? How does it get here? How does it get transported here? Is that sustainable?
100%.
Unless you're making it in your backyard, like,
right.
and there's too many carcinogens that go into like just getting that here,
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's great on the food side. I just like a bar, glassware, plastic cups,
And also,
water
like
stations.
for us, it forces you to be creative.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
forces you to, go to a cook and say, hey, you have an opportunity with all of this stuff. I need you to make something.
Yeah.
Make something awesome that's delicious, that fits in this box. And here's this stuff. And it's a challenge. And learn, do, go,
Yep. One of the things we talked about beforehand too was like the health and wellness of chefs, and I think that's something I'd like to turn the page to that a little bit, just because I think you're like a healthy looking dude. I don't know how healthy you eat right now, but
I'm pretty good now. I used to not be, though.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just
This
think
is where
that's
you're
such a
like-
big thing.
Put up that photo and then like
Oh, yeah, you saw a photo of yourself and you're like,
Oh,
damn it.
I did that. Yeah. There's a photo and I was like, oh man, what is happening? But at the time I was like working a lot and I was drinking a lot.
Yeah.
And I was in that rock star lifestyle. It's like, this is my life. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Hard on the body.
What made you decide to kind of turn on that or like pivot?
I just think that I don't know. I mean, COVID obviously helped. I had like just started boxing, I think, just pre-COVID.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah. And I like lost a bunch of weight and I like stopped drinking, but like stopping drinking was really hard to like I just did it. Yeah. Which was really hard. I just started drinking soda water and telling everybody I was drinking, but I wasn't drinking.
Oh,
that's
like my trick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did that for a long time. And then would only have a drink if somebody else made it for me. Mm-hmm. So I did that, and then I don't know. I changed my diet. I changed everything now.
Yep.
And so now it's like,
well, it's got to be hard as hell in the kitchen because I feel like you're tasting or you need to try something, or it's just temptation constantly.
Yeah, but no. Like if you don't eat the chocolate chip cookies, But also, my brother will like make this chocolate cake that he made recently, and I walked over and took the entire square and just like made it a ball and just ate the whole thing. It's like, but maybe for the day I was only in for one meal. I was in for one meal and 6 cups of coffee. I'm not saying I'm like healthy by any means. I'm saying I might be having one meal, drinking coffee all day, and then having like little tastes of this and this here and there.
Right.
I mean, there are days that I feel like I'm on a station in projects for 6 hours. I might not drink a glass of water for the whole day or use the bathroom until I'm done working.
Yeah.
You just don't think about it. You're just doing.
You get super hyper-focused on something, and then all of a sudden you're like, how long has it been since I peed?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Oh, 14 hours? That doesn't seem right.
Right. I'm unhealthy. I'm unwell.
They're not bastions of health here, okay?
But also, like, I mean, this is probably like my guilty plug that we talked about earlier. So my mom, have you heard of her nonprofit, Project Black and Blue?
Oh, yeah, I have.
Yes.
Yeah,
so they've got another gala coming up this year. September 13th is the gala.
Okay.
And they like fly in chefs from all over the country.
Okay.
Andrew Zimmern's speaking this year at it. And then they have like, I think last year there's like 20 chefs out, and they did like small tables for appetizers, and then you roll into like a multi-course sit-down dinner.
Wait, why haven't I gone to this fundraiser? I want to go now.
You should. It's awesome. And it's all like
working.
food focused and chef related, but her nonprofit is to support mental health, support things going on in chefs' lives. A lot of them don't have health insurance, so what ends up happening, or any food service really, it's a food service focused nonprofit.
That's
so if something were to happen, you can nominate yourself, or somebody else can nominate you, and they'll come in and get you to treatment. They'll pay for your medical bills. They'll pay for your rent. They'll get your kids into daycare. Like whatever you need to be successful and to have that same like caring passion that I was talking about earlier of like why we do this. Mm-hmm. They come in and make sure that you're good. And
that's awesome.
It's incredible. Beautiful. Yeah, it's really, really cool. I mean, she's grinding it out, but they're trying really hard to do big things.
I think I know of it through the aprons too.
Yeah. So she has 2 apron businesses now. One is called Project Right Behind, and a bunch of the proceeds from those aprons get funneled right back into the nonprofit. And then Craft Made Aprons is her apron company. She has a black and blue apron that the proceeds go to for that as well. But they're all over the country. I mean, a lot of the restaurants in Minneapolis are wearing her aprons, but the nice part is the new one right behind, they are being made like more simply, and so they're for larger corporations. So then now that give back to the nonprofit can be higher.
That's great.
Cool. Yeah, it's really awesome, and it's one of those things where it's like any way that we can support our community is important, because I mean, there's so many chefs out there that have that we hear about from the past even that commit suicide because they didn't have support, or they were at the top all alone and nobody to talk to, and then you just work all these hours,
right?
And then you don't have an outlet for the things that are troubling you.
I feel like it's not uncommon for people in hospitality and food and all of that, people who care so much about creating experiences and taking care of other people, to just not take care of themselves.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's all external and it's never internal. And I think like what you're doing with having like that work-life balance, like, is incredible. And it's probably a really great model for some other people and some other places. And like, I think sometimes it's become so much the norm that it feels like, what other option is there?
Right.
You know?
Right.
And anytime anyone pushes outside of those boundaries, it's like a really powerful thing that can help a lot of people.
And it's been hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to get guests to understand. All the time we get the question, who's the chef? It's like, well, we are. We're doing it as a collective. We're doing it as a team. You're getting 3 minds for the price of 1.
Right.
And we're sharing the glory. We're sharing the failures. We're here to support you and give you the best possible experience. And it's not just resting on the shoulders of one individual.
Yeah.
It's a team.
Yeah.
And I look at big companies have executive teams and they manage their businesses based on, like, if you have a team that has a plethora of personal experiences and life work experiences, and they can all now grab from those and bring them into one area, you can put yourself in a very creative system of support, of new ideas, different ways of looking at things, different ways of excelling. And I think you can get to a point, if you start to feel comfortable with that you're almost mitigating your failures, or because you're talking about the situation. You're not just like pulling the trigger on something.
Right.
You're sitting in a room together going, does this work? Does it make sense?
And hearing different perspectives. And that's like when they talk about DEI stuff, it's like having people at the table is important because your perspective and my perspective are so wildly different from our backgrounds and just like our identities and things like that. And it's like something very obvious that seems terrible and offensive to me, like doesn't even ring a bell for somebody else. Right. But it's the same kind of mentality of like having more voices at the table and those different perspectives, like just brings a richer quality experience to things and probably way more fail safes to it.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I just think it's like that sharing the glory thing. Yeah. I mean, I don't need to be recognized as the most incredible chef. If people feel that way, then that's awesome. But if not, that's cool too. And if I'm just putting out good food that I feel like I can put who I am as a chef behind that and say, I'm doing this because I care about the food and I want you to have a good experience and I want you to maybe experience something. I mean, for a long time, my big things that I talk about are I never want to give you an unfamiliar food in an unfamiliar way. So I'll give you a familiar food in an unfamiliar way or an unfamiliar food in a familiar way. So what you're doing is feeding somebody is like one of the most intimate experiences that you can have with them. And you go out to a restaurant and you're automatically supposed to trust that the things that I'm putting out, you should enjoy because somebody else or social media tell you that you should enjoy it. No, not the case. But let me at least gradually give you an opportunity to go, you know what, I don't like mushrooms, but let me explain to you how we do it in the process and the whole thing. I use mushrooms as an example always because it's polarizing.
Very polarizing.
But if I were to cook every steak cut the same way, you would probably say most of the steaks are not that good. Like it's because they're chewy or tough or the texture's off. Same thing for mushrooms. None of them are the same. They all want to be cooked differently. They all want to be treated differently. So if you start to learn how to do that, now I can give you an opportunity and experience where you go, I would have never ate that. And now that I've had that, I feel more comfortable trying it at my next crossroads. And so like a big piece is not only just educating our staff, but how do you educate and give the opportunity to your guest?
And create that level of trust that they'll try it, which I think is amazing. Yeah. Wait, do you like mushrooms?
I love mushrooms.
What about you two? I could tell from your face. You were like, ooh.
I've had like stuffed portobello mushrooms, stuffed sausage, or stuffed mushrooms with sausage. Those somehow my brain can get around. Sure. Other than that, I can't.
I'll give you an example. So we'll do like oyster mushrooms. Oh, sorry.
No, you can turn it.
Oyster mushrooms.
Yeah.
You they're very delicate. And if you cook them, they can kind of give you this like slimy texture if you just cook them in a pan. Okay.
Sure.
But if you take those oyster mushrooms and you do a 24-hour milk soak, whole milk or whatever, half and half, and you submerge them, what'll happen is they'll release the water. They'll take on the milk and that lactose.
Huh.
And now I take those out at 24 hours and I let them dry.
Sure.
24 hours of drying.
Mm-hmm.
And now I've taken them when they've dried, and now I pan fry them or cook them in a really high fanned oven, 425. And what'll happen is the outside of the mushrooms get really crispy, but the inside is like custardy, like because it's milk, so it's sweet.
Awesome.
And so now you get like, if you think of some of those cookies,
with cheese, and it's
like a chocolate chip cookie that you get, some of them are like thin and crispy.
Sure.
You get thin and crispy on the outside and then like soft in the middle. And so it can be a very exciting something different. You can take oyster mushrooms and shave them super, super thin, put them over just the burnt or just over the flame and let them sit with olive oil, lemon, and salt. Oil, lemon, and salt. And what it'll do is it'll release all the water. And then you turn that on to low, and then it'll release the rest of the water. And then it cooks itself slowly in mushroom water. And then as all the water comes off, the sugars naturally in it will start to caramelize, and they'll start to get super crispy. And then right as they get crispy and golden brown, you hit it with a bunch of acid and some butter. And now you end up with this salty, acidic, fatty, crispy mushroom, and we use them on salads and pastas and whatever.
That sounds
so it's like,
wow.
To give somebody the opportunity to have that experience and have that moment where they're like, okay, I can get behind this. I can try something new now because I haven't had it in that way. I haven't had that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's half of my job, is creating that opportunity.
See, and I think when I got into catering, I never had like hardly anything before. I felt like I very Minnesota, like hot dish and whatever. Yeah. And then I tried like truffle honey, and I'm like, what the hell is this? This is freaking crazy good. And blue cheese and truffle honey on a cracker is delicious.
Right.
And even blue cheese, like I just, we didn't really buy that at home. It was always like freaking yellow cheese, like
Kraft single slices. Baby.
It wasn't even Kraft. It wasn't even Kraft. It was like the big ass
the
thing.
blocks, the Velveeta
We
blocks.
needed the big ass block. Not even the Velveeta, but sometimes the Velveeta.
The off-brand.
It was like the Bogards one or whatever, the giant with there's like 500 slices in one. Because we were 4 kids in a family, and we'd kill that shit in like a week. Yeah. But D'Amico gave me an opportunity to try all these different things, like a mushroom and leek tartlet, or a lamb meatball with like a yogurt sauce or whatever the hell. And it's just like all the things, and those are just off the top of my head. That's all I can remember right now.
That's good.
But like there were so many things that I would have never experienced anywhere else, and it was literally due to the catering side of it, just like innovation, chef innovation, culinary creations, man. It's cool. It's awesome. And I think that's how I got to like mushrooms, because I never we didn't eat them a lot. Like it wasn't like when we made pasta, it was like pasta with mushrooms, and it was like pretty bland ass stuff. It was some onion, but even my dad and one of my brothers doesn't eat onion. This episode is sponsored by IMAV, an innovative and leading audiovisual company based in the Twin Cities. If you're looking to elevate your next event, all you have to do is reach out to the team at IMAV. They'll put together a package that not only fits your budget, but takes your event to the next level. IMAV strives to not only be a resource, but an asset to the success of your event. Whether you need video, audio, or lighting, the professionals at IMAV can execute and run your meeting or event flawlessly. Their team is a dream to work with and always deliver a final product that leaves guests blown away. Find them online at imav.pro. Use promo code EVENTLIFE when you contact them to receive 30% off all equipment rentals for your first event. Again, go to imav.pro to lock in the best audiovisual vendor for your next event.
I think like a lot of it too for me is that my job is to do the education piece. My job is to try new things, learn, figure out how I can make it into something that you would try or you'd have. And
that's
also,
what's cool.
I mean, for me also, I think I'm very lucky. I don't know if it was COVID or if it was pre-COVID, but I have like a very sensitive palate and smell. Like I can walk into a room and like the other day somebody opened up a Gatorade and I was like, what the fuck is that? That smells terrible. What is that? It's so clawingly sweet. And they're like, I don't know what. And I came over and I was like, it's this. What is this? It smells terrible.
That's so funny.
So I'm like, I can look at dishes. I could watch a video on Instagram and I could just make the dish.
Nice.
Or I can smell flavors and go, okay, that and that'll go really good together. Actually, that's an interesting way to think about it. Let's do this and manipulate it in this way. Yeah. Or like the other day I was eating a waffle and I was like, it'd be really good. I was brewing an espresso shot at home and I was like, I should make a tiramisu waffle. Like that would be awesome for breakfast, where you take the shot and you just like pour the espresso shot over your waffle. I think it'd be amazing.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
But my brain is always thinking about food all day.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
Yeah. No,
Jess has been sick. She's
I've been holding this coffin for the entire show.
She's on the mend. Yeah.
I'm gonna need you to insert that IMAV ad right in there. Just cover that right on up, please.
Shoot. Yeah. I love the creation of food, and I didn't have a lot of that growing up, so I think I've grown to just appreciate it on so many levels. Something so simple as like a mushroom, but like how many ways you can cook it. My brother moved out to LA and he took me to, I think it was called the Geisha House, and it was like a very, I think, Japanese style restaurant, and it's like sushi and stuff like this, and it was like my first experience drinking sake, and it was like so much raw fish that I was like certain I was gonna get sick, and he's like, just drink the sake, it'll fucking balance it out, dude, you'll be fine. And I was fine. It was like the first time I ever had calamari. Yeah. And it was pretty basic, like now you see it everywhere. It was like fried calamari or whatever, but it was a really cool experience because he and some of the friends that we went with of his, they knew like one of the chefs there, so they just kept sending out food for us, and it was really cool for me to like, again, like this kid who grew up in like farm town Minnesota, you don't have anything, it's all meat, potatoes, once in a while a lasagna, it's all bland, and the basic ass cheese and everything's just like basic. You're a good cook, Mom. I love her food, I still eat it, but it was like, and then going to like a company like D'Amico where it's like everything's crazy and designed and it looks cool, but it tastes just as good, and it's really cool to like have had that experience. And there's so many, like I have a friend, I actually took him to a sushi place once, Travis is his name, and he started gagging at the table. The dude is like, he only eats like macaroni and cheese out of the box, and like he eats like a 10-year-old still, right. And he'll be the first to admit it. But it's just funny because like not everybody gets that experience.
If you're ever out in LA, last year I went. A friend of mine is part of a group out there, Scratch Restaurant Group, Sushi by Scratch.
Okay.
So you sign up for a time slot kind of thing. And you show up, and you show up to a nondescript door in like a mall setting.
Oh, I love that. Okay.
And you knock on the door, and you walk in, or they let you in. They check in your name and your party or whatever. So it was my fiance and I, and it's all dark in there, only uplighting, and it's a Japanese whiskey bar.
Cool.
And we're sitting in there, and there's like 5 or 4 couples or 5 couples in there. So there was 12 of us total. And you're in there, you have your welcome cocktail, and you're just like hanging out. And then once everybody's there, you go into this other room. Like they take you into this other room, and you come in, and it is an omakase seated whole sushi tasting area. And on the wall are just names of cuts of fish or types of fish or meat or whatever it is. And I think when we got done, I think it was 21 courses.
Oh, damn.
But it's one bite of sushi.
Sure. Okay, but still,
so what they
after
do
a while,
is they're making all of your beverages in front of you or pairing it with sakes. And you are seated, and there's one like stone tile, like a coaster almost, in front of you. Little set of pickles. And they make each one in front of you, and they're talking to you about the fish and about wherever and how it's made. And then they set it down. And with your fingers, there's no plates or anything. With your fingers, you pick up the one thing, you eat it. They're like, encourage you to have one bite. You have one bite. They wipe off that. They talk about the next course. They keep building sushi for you. So you have like 21 or whatever bites of sushi over the course of 2 hours or 3 hours. But you're just sitting there, and the experience is so incredible, like mind-blowingly incredible, because it's what you want out of every dining, not every dining experience, but every dining experience that's supposed to be like a moment.
Right.
Because they're telling you what you should taste in every single bite. So as you do it, it's like you take the bite and you're like, well, yeah, that makes sense. And it's like piece after piece after piece of you just like building knowledge and flavor profile, and like you're eating food, but also retaining the knowledge and learning it as you're going. You're still having a great time, but it's like you're not just sitting down to eat food. There are so many times that I don't even taste something as I'm eating it until I get to the last bite and I go, yeah, that's pretty good.
But it's a whole experience. Like it's not just a meal. It's an entire experience.
Yeah, and even like from getting there and like the whole thing, but it was so cool. So fun. They have a pasta bar that's also like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What do you like? You work crazy hours, maybe not anymore as much, but like you still work cooking a lot of your days. What do you do when you get home? Like, what are you eating? Are you still cooking for yourself? Are you doing simple stuff?
Some days. It depends on when I get home.
Yeah.
Really. I don't do a lot of takeout really that much anymore. We have a lot of stuff that are like quick make salads and situations like that, or I'll like come home and I'll eat like 2 handfuls of gummy bears.
Like
2 handfuls
olives.
of gummy bears.
That was my dinner tonight.
2 handfuls of gummy bears and a handful of caramel corn. Like sometimes
it's
I'm
all
just
about
like
balance, baby.
calorie driven at that point.
For
or
sure.
I just come home and I go, I'm not hungry. I've been around food all day. I've been snacking on things. Pass. I just want to go to bed. So then I'll have like a glass of water and I'll go to bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I feel that.
on my days off, I'm always cooking. I'm always making things.
Nice.
It's like what I love to do.
Well, it makes sense too, because I'm sure you can save a crap load of money.
Yeah, for sure. And we always talk about like, hey, I can make this. Some days I'll make 2 meals, and I'll make 2 meals so that we have like leftovers for the next couple of days, which is nice because I don't have a lot of time. And even on the days that I'm like going in late, I'm going in at 10 or 11, and then I'm there until 9, and I'm not coming home to cook at 9. I'm just like coming home to wind down, go to bed, wake up, do the regular thing.
Yeah.
Do the 3-dog lifestyle that I have right now.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, but there are also, I mean, we were talking about this before. There are times that I'm like on social media posting like my barren fridge, and it'll be like little bits of stuff that I've saved, like going back to that sustainability piece. Like you use the top half of cilantro and then all the stems that still have the little twisty tie on that. I just throw it in a bin in my fridge. And then I'll be making something. I'll be like, it'd be really good, cilantro. And then I have this little thing, and it could be even pretty dry. And I'll take it out, and I'll chop it up. And then I'll take like 5 cherry tomatoes, and I'll cut them up, and I'll make myself a little tomato salad. And then I'll put it on whatever I'm eating as a quick whatever. Or an onion that's like basically dry.
Yeah.
Kind of shrivel it up a little bit sad. I'll cut that up, and I'll still make like a little quick salsa with it, and I'll eat it with whatever I'm eating.
That's awesome.
On some like sad tortilla with leftover chicken.
I'm terrible. There's so many things that just sit in my fridge till they're moldy, and then I'm like, all right, throwing out that whole container.
But I'm also at home still like garnishing and finishing most dishes.
Nice.
Like,
so you're keeping the caliber up.
I'll build plates when we're at home.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
I love it. That's great.
Were you gonna say something?
No.
Okay. Man, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you.
I think we did over an hour and a half already, so
Sweet.
we'll wrap it up
Talkers.
there. Thanks
Yeah.
so much for coming on. It was great to talk. We'll have to do it again sometime
For
because
sure.
I'm sure
I
there's
love
so
it.
much
Yeah.
more to talk
Hey.
about.
I think
Always.
we should have
Anytime.
your like your 3-person team
Oh,
come sometime.
It would be
Yeah.
We'd be here for
because
like
our
4
dynamic-
hours. I can
our
already tell.
dynamic
I would
is
love to see that.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Our dynamic
We'll
is
do
hilarious.
like we'll have to release it in 2 parts or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's-
no, that would be fun.
That would be really fun. Yeah, we have a funny dynamic with that because at work I'm the dad,
Oh yeah.
and my brother's the mom, and Lucas is the funkle. Because he's
Nice.
always like, you come to him and he'd be like so overjoyed and like so excited for you always. Be like, that
That's
was
cool.
so good. Where Blake and I are like, yeah, that's what it should taste like. Good job.
So good. I love that. That's amazing.
That's super fun.
Yeah, no, that'd be awesome. We'd love
Do you want to plug the event one more time?
that. Project Black and Blue Gala, September 13th. I'm not sure when tickets are going on sale yet. I'll post them on my social media though for sure,
Awesome.
and I'll send it to you or whatever.
And how do
but
people find you?
find Project Black and Blue?
Or your social,
Oh,
if they want to follow along.
I think I'm just
You wanna be found?
Corey Meier on there.
That's
I don't
okay. Yeah,
really,
yeah. It's
I
either
don't
way.
really.
We'll tag you, I'm sure.
Yeah,
so
that'd be nice.
It's all
Then
good.
whatever. But and then I'll post stuff on Project Black and Blue. It's good cause, and I
Awesome.
think
Are you cooking for that at all?
No, I'm just like managing and overseeing the operation as far as making it run smooth and make sure everybody's happy.
Awesome.
Things I'm good at.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, man.
Thank
It
you
was
so
great
much.
chatting.
It was my pleasure.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching the podcast. Hit the like and follow button to stay updated on our latest episode. If you have ideas of topics or guests you'd like us to interview, drop us a comment, and we'll see you next time.